Change. It's interesting. People don't ever want to change until they're absolutely forced to make a change. By that time, you end up making a change that you don't want to make. You're not able to make a wise decision in your change, and you make a rushed decision in your change. Because when you had the opportunity to make actually a wise choice, you waited. Shalom. This is Following Yeshua. Welcome again to the ride. Change. I asked many questions on the topic of change. How did I do it? How did they do it? Because we came from, all of us from the inner city. Zion came from LA. The Watts area, Compton area. Spent times in slums and ghettos. Rivka spent time in Atlanta and Dallas and every almost large metropolitan area. And then myself, I spent most of my time in San Diego, raised by the Four Corners of Death, for those of you who know that area, the Four Corners of Death. It's amazing that people are unwilling to make changes until it's too late. The Bible says the prudent man perceives the evil and hides himself, the foolish one passes on and is punished. The Bible says that we are, as God's people, to put off the old man and to take on the new. We are to be transformed by the renewing of our minds. And that requires change. That requires us to experience some discomfort at times. And in reality, people say, well, change is hard. Change really isn't that hard when you think about it. Think about change. When you think about change, the hardest part of change is when you don't. And then when things get so bad that you are now forced to make a change and forced to make a hasty, impulsive decision. When you had the opportunity to make a wise decision, you waited. I think about myself. We usually wait for things bad to happen in our life before we ever make a change. I was thinking about my solar panels. And we had a small issue where they weren't charging fully. Now, I had already felt it in my spirit weeks earlier, months earlier. I needed to start doing some more research on my panels just to be able to troubleshoot things ahead of time. Now, did I do that? No, of course I didn't do that. What did I do? I waited. Then suddenly when the panel started having an issue, now I'm rushing to the internet and I'm rushing to seek counsel. I'm rushing for advice on what could possibly be wrong. But I had already felt it in my spirit months earlier to go and research solar panels to make sure that I have the information that in case something goes wrong, I can fix it. Didn't do that. So for over a month, we struggled. We ran the generator more than we wanted to. Come to find out the problem was a $10 to $15 problem. All I had to do was literally rewire the wiring in between the batteries. I ran them parallel. So I had to rewire them because one of the wires had basically burned out. Those whenever you buy a kit or whatever, I always suggest you go and you buy your own wiring. Go to a Home Depot, an electronics store, and go buy your own wiring. Don't rely on the wiring they send you. But so the wiring they sent me burned out. But see, I had already been told, I had already felt it in my spirit to go and check this thing. I just procrastinated. So for a month, I suffered. Because I was afraid. Not even afraid. I would procrastinate. I didn't make the change when I needed to. I didn't make the move when I needed to. So, I suffered. And I put myself and I put my family in a situation that they didn't need to be in. When I could have just studied, when it had been put on my spirit by the Father to research the topic. See, that's the way we are. A lot of times we want to wait until things get bad, and then we want to go and make some drastic moves. You see, time is getting bad. The time to learn to plant food is now. The plan to come out of her is now. Because when you're forced to come out, you're not going to come out and be able to just throw seeds in a garden and grow food. You're going to kick yourself and be angry at yourself because you're going to realize, I should have done this thing 3 or 4 years ago. I should have learned this thing 3 or 4 years ago. I should have made the move 3 or 4 years ago. But you waited. And now you're forced to make hasty decisions. You're forced to be impatient. You're forced to be drastic. And usually we make some of our worst decisions in those times when we could have moved and made the change when the Father told us. Right now, there are a lot of people who are telling us as Israel and those who are in the faith to come out, to make the move now. Stop waiting. But the sad reality of it is most are going to wait until they're forced to. And then at that time, the land that you could have had prepared won't be prepared. And many are going to be forced to make hasty, impulsive, even crazy, unwise decisions and changes based on the fact that they did not move when they had the opportunity to. You see, when I talk about people coming out, I'm not saying everybody has to come out to the Ozarks. I'm not saying everybody needs to go to the American Readout. I'm saying come out. Come out of all this mess. Mentally, physically, spiritually, financially, sexually. And that means you have to get up and move to come out of these areas. But the sad fact is most people ain't going to do it. They want to wait. They want to wait until things fall bad. They want to be that person that as soon as things get bad, I'm going to be the one that makes the move right at the right time. Well, the right time is now. The right time is now. And what most people are waiting for is they're waiting for a sign when you've gotten it. You can see the economy. You can see the social degradation. You can see the sin, the wickedness that is taking place in this earth. You can see food being poisoned. They're always recalling some sort of food product. You can see that our society that's falling apart. You can see the wickedness. You can see all these things taking place. What more else do you need to see? It says twice in Proverbs, the prudent man foresees the evil and hides himself. The foolish one passes on and is punished. How much more do you need to see? Yah has been merciful enough and shown us, for those that have the eyes to see, that it's time for us to make even more serious moves. To plant your gardens. Men, be concerned about your family that you say you love so much. How are you going to feed them? You don't want to be running out of the city, sprinting out of it hastily when you had the opportunity to do it in wisdom. To prepare your lands in wisdom, to build your gardens in wisdom, to get and make yourself prepared in wisdom. It does no good for us to see all these signs and things that are taking place in this earth and to have these discussions day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year for us to continue to come to the same conclusion. And that conclusion is no change. No movement. Waiting. And thinking that, well, I'll change later. Yeah. When that later comes, usually comes when we're forced to make a change. And at that point in time, our change is not wise. When we can make these moves now. It's going to take you time, brothers and sisters, to turn that ground into a garden. That's one of the spots where I'm putting a garden. We're going to be piling leaves in there. It's going to take time. Like I said, we got our first real beautiful harvest where we ate every vegetable that we ate since March has been produced here on the rock. We've been here. This is our third planting season. So now it's going to take me a couple years to get these gardens. They're soil ready to where I'm producing heavily. To get my home continue to be built. To get the things done that I want to get done. These things come with sacrifice and they come with change. The question is, are you willing to make the change now when you can and you have the option? Or do you want to wait until you're forced? Until you have to do it? Until you have no choice? Especially as Yah's people, we should be attentive to what he is saying and make the moves while we can, instead of waiting until we're forced. Bless you. Shalom.